All the speakers and moderators to take their seat on the stage, please. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all give a very warm welcome to all the three speakers and moderators for the first session. And the first session is entitled Finding the Moderate Voice Within. And to steer the discussion, it is our great pleasure to invite Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir, the Chief Minister for the State of Perak, to preside as the moderator for the first session. And a little bit of background of our moderator, coming from a humble fishing community in Pangkor Island, the State of Perak. Dr. Zamri is perhaps the pride and example of IUM alumnus who has made his mark in the political arena. So without further ado, and I would like to remind also before we begin our first session that the first two sessions will be held back to back, meaning one subsequently after another. So I leave the floor. I now hand over the floor to our moderator, Datuk Seri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Zamri.
His Excellency first. I'll do the last.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam satu Malaysia, and a very good morning to all present. We are now in first session of the Global Movement of Moderates programs, and of course this is a very important session, I guess, and I'm here today to moderate the moderates. Let me welcome you to the first session of the International Conference on the Global Movement of Moderates. We're here today because we share an important value essential for the survival of the human race in the new globalized world. The value that I'm referring to is related to respect and care towards the world around us. I believe all of us in this great hall share this value because we are the moderates and hold to the principle of wasatiyah. The word wasatiyah is a Quranic terminology which to some scholars also not only refers to moderation but also refers to justly balanced ways, or a tawazun, justice, or al-adl, straightness, al-istiqamah, goodness, or al-khairiyah, safety, al-aman, strength, or al-quwwah, and unity, or al-wahdah. We are honored to have with us three distinguished and internationally renowned scholars to share with us their wealth of experience and expertise in this area. On my right, we have Professor Tan Sri Dr. Muhammad Kamal Hassan, who happened to be my guru. It's not a spiritual guru though, but somehow he's also very respected lecturer to all of us at one point of time. He's from International Islamic University, Malaysia. Next to him is we have Dr. Ahmad Muhammad Ali Al-Madani, President of the Islamic Development Bank. And next to Dr. Muhammad, we have Professor Berger, Mauritius Berger. I was actually just now struggling to pronounce his name correctly. That's why I called him first to know how to pronounce your name, sir. Because whether to pronounce your name Berger, or Berger. They said call me Berger, not hamburger. Thank you, sir, for coming. He's now the Professor of Islam in the Contemporary West, Sultan of Oman Chair of Oriental Studies, Leiden University. The topic for this session is finding the moderate voice within. Throughout the world, we see the increasing trend of extremism in many forms, aggressively pursuing their mission of death and destruction. Yet we know that the majority of the world's population are peace-loving and moderate. Together we believe the moderates have a compelling values for the world and that we can make a difference for a better world. To do so, we have to search deep inside and start analyzing those values. The question is, do we have what is needed for our voice to be heard? Have we dug deep enough and found that moderate voice within? Before I call on the speakers, however, there are some house rules which I would like to share with you, sir. Each speaker is given 15 minutes. The buzzer or bell will go 3 minutes before time and twice when the time is up, upon which the speaker is required to end his presentation. Required. I hope I'm not walking towards you to grab your mic then. The audience will have the opportunity to ask questions when all speakers have presented their papers. Without further ado, I would like to invite our first speaker, as Professor Kamal requested me to call upon Your Excellency Dr. Muhammad Ali Al-Madani to deliver your paper. Please welcome Dr. Muhammad.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلاة وسلاما على خاتم أنبيائه ورسله وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Your Excellency, Datu Seri Dr. Zambri, the moderator and Chief Minister of the State of Perak, respected panel members, Excellencies, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I would like, first of all, to really express sincere thanks and appreciation and congratulations also to the people and the government of Malaysia. My thanks also to the organizer of this very important international conference. As you know, as the Prime Minister mentioned this morning, all parts of the world, really without exception, are suffering from extremism, to the extent that no single nation or country is excluded from this disaster. This would require wise people to be mobilized in each part of our global village to spread the culture of moderation. The Holy Quran and the sayings of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam are strongly warning us against extremism in all its forms and shape. This concept is further emphasized in the ayah which describes the Muslim Ummah as the Ummah of moderation. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وكذلك جعلناكم أمة وسطا لتكونوا شهداء على الناس. الآية. إلى قوله تعالى إن الله بالناس لرؤوف رحيم. Thus have we made of you an ummah justly balanced, that ye might be witnesses over the nations. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to all people most surely full of kindness, most merciful. This conference is very timely, in line with the call for moderation and morality, in particular in inclusive development. The world is undergoing a sea of change in the global movement for justice and equality. This is not just witnessed in our part of the world, but also in advanced economies demanding more equitable and inclusive development. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, moderation or wasatiyya is both a desired behavior and the way of life. Moderation suggests that it is about finding the middle ground of two extremes, positions. In most cases, these extremes are perceived as contradictory or conflicting. For example, production, that's to say profit making, versus consumption, that is greed. I like to suggest that we think of these extreme positions as complementing each other, so that it is not about win-lose, but a win-win situation. Perhaps it is now an opportunity to introduce some innovative business and inclusive economic principles to create a more equitable development model themed around the notion of moderation. Inclusive economic growth is widely recognized as a necessary condition for development. However, to sustain inclusive development, we also need equitable growth model. Therefore, we want to emphasize the importance of wealth sharing as a rewarding endeavor, as guiding by the ayah from Al-Baqarah, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم من ذا الذي يقرض الله قرضا حسنا فيضاعفه له أضعافا كثيرة الآية. Who is he that will loan to Allah a beautiful loan, which Allah will double into his credit and multiply many times? In short, the more we share our wealth, the wealthier we will become. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share some thoughts on three main pillars of inclusive economic development. That is, first, the production or supply aspect, that's to say, through corporations. Number two, the demand aspect, peroxide by market and governance. And three, the intermediation, that's to say, the banking and finance industry. The first pillar, as you all know, a vibrant banking and financial sector is needed to facilitate proper functioning of inclusive economic development model. Banking and finance industry is therefore an instrument of development and not the end. As you all know, the current global financial crisis is largely due to making banking and finance industry an end in itself. It is now recognized that speculative banking and interest-based banking are harmful, particularly in contributing to concentration of wealth in the hands of the few. It is therefore imperative to steer the banking industry from loan-based and speculative behavior to moral-based and asset-based financing, as the case in Islamic banking and finance, which is more equitable than the conventional banking. I therefore call for reconsideration for the banking practice from pure for-profit banking environment to trusted banking and or ethical banking system, which usually operates on profit and loss sharing model and not just profit sharing. The second pillar of inclusive economic development is the healthy functioning of the real economic venture, where it generates innovative goods and services and providing productive employment. Therefore, the private sector undoubtedly will assume an increasing role as the engine and partner for development. That is, a private sector that is more ethical and embraces social responsibility function, expanding it into moral capital. The reason for extending the concept of social responsibility into moral responsibility is obvious to everybody. That is, the notion of corporate social responsibility or mutual social responsibility is limited in scope and often tied to reducing costs for corporation. Despite that corporate social responsibility is in the right direction, there is a need to expand the definition to include the moral aspect of it, thus to say, to mainstream the notion of social capital and cultural or ethical capital to govern corporate behavior. Ibn Khaldun's work is perhaps a seminal reference work in our desire to design an inclusive development policy to incorporate private sector-led innovation with moral responsibility as well as social and cultural behavior. The third pillar and the central pillar of inclusive development is human capital development. In the conventional development literature, human capital is considered a means but not an end for sustainable development. In the inclusive development model, human capital development is both a means and an end for development. As an end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained human being accordingly. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولقد كرمنا بني آدم وحملناهم في البر والبحر ورزقناهم من الطيبات وفضلناهم على كثير ممن خلقنا تفضيلا. We have honored the sons of Adam, provided them with transport on land and sea, given them for sustenance things good and pure, and conferred on them special favors above a great part of our creation. Therefore, human satisfaction is not only material satisfaction. In fact, the maqasid al-sharia includes, as you know, self, nafs, aql, ilm, religion, deen, wealth, mal, posterity, nasl, both as elements of human needs and sustainable development. For example, the art of giving and sharing is in the heart of Islamic behavior for humanity purposes. In this respect, Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib, karramallahu wajhah, said, if there is someone who does not have a meal, then some else has over-consumed their share. Such a behavior could also lead to moderation from within. Unfortunately, today, the media and communication industry promotes excessiveness and non-moderation as a mutual way of life, and consequently defines material happiness as inner peace. However, to promote moderation from within would require transforming the power of media, especially leveraging on the power of social networks to stimulate moral behavior. Again, such a transformation would lead towards a trusted and value-based economy that would also promote moderation from within. Recent good practices suggest that going beyond the soft aspect to promote moderate behavior would entail creating innovative institutional mechanism to promote wealth sharing. A case in point is the notion of growth with equity model, which has successfully been operationalized by Malaysian institutions such as Permedilan National Berhad and Tabun Haji that can be shared with others. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in closing, moderation is an important factor in advancing an inclusive and sustainable human development, which ultimately leads to al-sa'ada, happiness, and al-falah, material, human, emotional, and spiritual prosperity here and thereafter. IDB Group, as your partner in inclusive development, stands ready to support the efforts of the global movement of the moderates, especially in the developmental aspects of the movement. We hope that this blessed movement expands its activities all over the world with the aim of mobilizing global leaders and prominent thinkers to work together in sensitizing the silent majority of the dangers stemming from extremism and directs its energy to stop the spreading trend of extremism that is threatening peace, stability, and peaceful coexistence between nations, civilizations, and religions all over the world without any exception. Finally, I would like once again to express my thanks to all who organized and helped this international conference, and to specifically express thanks to the International Islamic University for kindly hosting this forum, and for His Excellency Datu Seri Dr. Zambri for modernizing this session. Thank you very much. Wassalamu minallahi alaykum jami'an wa rahmatuhu wa barakatuh.
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Tan Sri Dr. Ali Al-Madani, for sharing your thought with us. Next, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Maurice S. Berger from Leiden University to present his paper. Please welcome, Professor.
Your Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends, I stand humbled in the presence of my two co-panelists. I'm honored by this invitation. I want to thank the organization for inviting me to this important event. I applaud this initiative wholeheartedly. Too much attention has been drawn in the past years to a minority of extremists, eclipsing the vast majority of moderates. Their voice needs to be heard, but this also requires that they need to raise their voice, and this is one of the moments when this is happening. The need for moderation is a global need. The Prime Minister already indicated that in his speech this morning. I've been asked to speak about Islam in the Muslim world, so I'll take a section of this global need. Ladies and gentlemen, the often heard argument, these extremists are only a few and therefore not representative of Islam, that argument does not suffice anymore. It's too defensive. It denies realities and questions that affect every single Muslim. In retrospect, I think that Muslims missed an opportunity here. Let me tell you from my experience as a journalist in the time of 9/11, and Western media were in desperate need of Muslim voices to comment on what happened and to put it in perspective. But Muslims were reluctant to do so, for good reasons, I must say. On the one hand, because they felt offended that they were held accountable for atrocities that were committed in the name of Islam. On the other hand, they were reluctant to comment because they were deeply apprehensive of Western media. Western media were suspected of bias against Islam, not receptive of any nuance. And these suspicions were not unfounded. For instance, there were many condemnations among Muslim clerics, scholars and leaders of the 9/11 attacks. And these condemnations hardly reverberated in the Western media. But, well, let's put it this way, these reasons for not opening to Western media are therefore perfectly understandable, but the net result was that Muslims felt no need to open up at all, and to ask themselves in a very critical manner what had happened to their religion and to their societies. As a Saudi newspaper columnist already wrote in 2002, not all Muslims are terrorists, but today all terrorists are Muslims. Calling, I'm quoting, and he called for introspection by Muslims themselves. The question that needed to be answered by Muslims is, how can it be that this beautiful and fulfilling religion of mine inspires others to become extreme and violent? What has happened? Now, looking in the mirror takes courage. And no more can one hide behind the excuse, it's not me, but that crazy man over there. So don't hold me accountable for his actions. Now, this initiative, to my mind, is therefore first and foremost, when we're speaking from an Islamic perspective, it's an endeavor of accountability of Muslims by Muslims. Now, this initiative is not an easy undertaking. It's not an easy undertaking because it raises the question of the measure stick of this accountability. We are all favoring something that we agree upon, but that we cannot define. What is this moderation? Now, I do not want to be the academic who spoils a discussion by dwelling on the definition of terminology being used, etc., etc. But some clarity is needed. What are we getting ourselves into these days? Now, I want to make 4 remarks on this. First, unfortunately, moderation is quite dull. If Islam, or any religion for that matter, is a religion of love and justice and self-fulfillment, then we do not want to be moderate. But to the contrary, we want to go the full mile, don't we? Moderation is typical quality of the elderly, definitely not of the young. And that is where we find most expressions of extremism among the young. Now, if we want to reach them, we must be aware of their needs and of the language they speak. And although we may all agree that it is high time that the young listen to the old, it is of paramount importance that we face the fact that especially in the Muslim world, the young constitute a large majority, sometimes reaching half or more of the population of Muslim countries. And these youngsters claim a say in things. Second, one person's moderate is another person's extremist. Some Muslim intellectuals have moderate opinions from my point of view, but are considered apostates by others. Liberals will be considered extremists by conservatives, and vice versa. And this brings me to my 3rd remark. Moderation runs the risk of becoming a source of censorship. Disallowing opinions that one considers immoderate is in itself an act of censorship that quells any discussion. Moderation may, doesn't have to be, but may then become a stifling blanket that dampens all variety of views and deafens our ears for other opinions and expressions. And as I said before, if we refuse to hear the opinions of the youth, however extremist they may sound, we will miss our objective of bringing Islam back into the fold of a loving humanity. Fourthly and finally, one must not only talk the talk, we must walk the walk. Muslims go to great lengths to proclaim the moderation and justice of Islam. That's all very nice. But Islam in action, Islam in practice, shows many examples to the contrary. One may profess Islam's religious tolerance, but this is theory or history when we look at what's happening to, let's say a few things, Ahmadiyya in Pakistan or Indonesia. Muslims anywhere in the Muslim world who want to openly and critically discuss their religion, or perhaps even change their religion. One may profess Islam's justice, but this is theory or history when we look at what's happening to women in Afghanistan or to refugees in Darfur or Somalia, to the lack of democracy and good governance in quite some Muslim countries. We may profess Islam's humanity, but that's merely theory and history. If we look at suicide attacks on innocents and other atrocities. And yes, we all know that this is not Islam. But it is being done in name of Islam. And it makes Islam guilty by association. Now I say this with emphasis because it's one of the main problems that I face in Western Europe every time when we are discussing Islam. Every time when I argue the tolerance, the justice or humanity of Islam, I am questioned, I'm confronted about the practice of Islam. In so many countries, the examples I just gave that show the opposite. And I lose that argument big time. Because in the end, practice is the measure stick of any religion. So one of the main challenges of this initiative will be to bring Islam's teachings in line with Muslims' actions. Now, if we take these 4 points into consideration, I want to address the topic of this session, and that is finding the moderate within. And I suggest that moderation should not be a quality based on opinions or voices of people. It should be the quality of their interaction. The true moderate, to my mind, is the person who can be tolerant of others, regardless of his or her own opinions. I'll give you an example. I've befriended several Muslims who are too conservative to my personal taste and who hold religious views I disagree with. But they possess the quality of curiosity and love for the world around them. They've become dear friends. They do not feel the need to enforce their beliefs on me or on their environment, nor do they condemn me or their environment. They have this self-confidence in their beliefs that allows them to be interested in everything and everyone around them, without, and that's very important, without being offended by it. And while their views may not necessarily be moderate from my perspective, they are moderate in their interaction with me and with the world. And these are the voices that I think need to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Maurice Berger. Finally, I would like to invite our third and final speaker, Chansri Dr. Muhammad Kamal Hassan. Please welcome Dr. Kamal.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen. Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-'aliyyil 'azim. Honorable moderator, my eminent co-panelists, distinguished scholars, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and very good morning. I have about 40 slides, and I'm going to really slide through very fast because of the time constraint. Let me just take you through the slides. My first point here is that we have problem in finding the moderate voice within because of this subjectivity and bias in rebranding, reframing of Islam and Muslim. And we have this new terms, Muslim fundamentalists, jihadists. Jihad is a very noble concept in Islam, but it has become a bad word. So it's related to jihadists. And I might be also portrayed as a jihadist from whatever perspective you might want to look at me. Or Islamist. So if you support Islam, then you're an Islamist. And automatically you are excluded from the mainstream discourse. Political Islam, as opposed to, say, Sufi Islam, progressive Islam. And these terms do not come from the tradition of Islam, but invented, manufactured, concocted by those who would like to see Islam from their perspective. I come to the next point. For the Muslims, of course, the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ are the authoritative sources. And these are the, you might say, the divine precepts which define moderation from an Islamic perspective. Then my third point is that where to find this moderate voice. And I would like to submit that you don't have to go very far. Dr. Berger doesn't have to be in Oman, but he should be in Malaysia. And I think he might change his opinion after staying in Malaysia, maybe after 2 weeks. So I thought the Malay people, the Muslim Malay people, is a good example. We have our weaknesses, our defects, but I think certain dimensions of moderation are with that people. And this is, I think, an area that has not been really studied by Western scholars, unbiased, objective Western scholars. Finding the moderate voice within the religion and the Muslim Malay community. So we have to look at the Quranic and Sunnah sources. And then we have, of course, to look at the Malay Muslim people with their long experience of religious tolerance, power sharing, something that is unknown in the Middle East, but has been with us for the last 60 years. And this is probably something that Dr. Berger might want to study further in the Malaysian context. Balancing Islamic ideals in the context of a democratic system with a constitutional monarchy and abhorrence of militancy deserves to be studied objectively by unbiased Western scholars as one of the successful models of Muslim moderation in the modern world. I will come to that later on with the appropriate slides. And this is a verse that His Excellency Dr. Ahmad Muhammad Ali referred to, and this is the main or the only, you might say, divine precept upon which the meaning of wasatiyah is derived. Interestingly enough, Muhammad Asad in his commentary looks at Ummata Wasata as a middlemost community, or some other scholars would define it as a justly balanced community. And he underscores the equitable balance between extremes and at the same time realistic enough to appreciate man's nature and possibilities. And he says here that this I think I ran out of battery here. I think very immoderate battery. I have to go back to my substitute. Hopefully it works. Huh? Oh boy. Yeah, but it's not too good. Can you ask the people to get me the battery, please? Okay. Yes, please. Upholding justice, even if it is against self-interest, because of the problem of time, I'm not going to explain this, but this is a very, very important divine precept that Muslims have to follow. Justice and beneficence are divine commandments. Moderation in economic life and communication, something that Dr. His Excellency Dr. Ahmad Muhammad Ali has referred to. Moderation in personal conduct and behavior, balance between other worldly goals and this worldly means, and peaceful relationship with others is the norm. And here I might want to emphasize this ayah, that is, Allah does not forbid you from those who do not fight you because of religion and do not expel you from your homes from being righteous toward them and acting justly toward them. Indeed, Allah loves those who act justly. And I think this is one of the reasons which were adopted by Malaysian political parties in the early 50s to cooperate with the non-Muslims in the sharing of power and later on the sharing of wealth as well. Legitimate reason, there can be some reasons for hostility, and that reason is mentioned here, that those who fight you because of your religion and expel you from your homes and aid you in your expulsion. This is a legitimate cause for hostility. Other than that, you're supposed to be living in complete harmony and peaceful coexistence. Adornment allowed, excessiveness or wastefulness prohibited. This applies to individuals as well as nations. And possibility of good things, there are many good things allowed in Islam, there are many more halal and mubah things than haram. But we overemphasize the haram and we forget the halal and the mubah. And the right way of propagation is to use wisdom and good instruction, al-maw'idha, al-hasana, and if we have to argue, and argue in the best possible manner. Christians and Jews advised to avoid extremism. And this is with reference to the Ahlul Kitab. O people of the scripture, do not exceed limits in your religion beyond the truth, and do not follow the desires of a people who had gone astray before and misled many and have strayed from the soundness of the way. Extremism in religion prohibited. Now we come to the second authoritative source, which is the Sunnah. And here you have this hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, "Inna ad-dina yusrun, walan yushadda ad-dina ahadun illa ghalabahu, fasaddidu wa qaribu wa abshiru wasta'inu bil-ghadwati wal-rawhati wa shay'in min al-jalja." So religion is very easy, and whoever overburdens himself in his religion will not be able to continue in that way. So you should not be extremists, but try to be near to perfection and receive the good things, good tidings that you'll be rewarded, and gain strength by worshipping in the mornings and the nights. Now, very important value in the religion is a-rifq, or gentleness and kindness, given top priority by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Here, Aisha was quite angry when the Jews who came to the Prophet and addressed him, "Salam alaikum," and instead of, and the Prophet, of course, answered in the same way, "Assalamu alaikum," badal as-salam alaik. And قال لها وهو فطن لما قالوا يا عائشة إن الله رفيق يحب الرفق ويعطي على الرفق ما لا يعطي على العنف وما لا يعطي على ما سواه. So the Prophet reprimanded his wife for being angry to the Jews and said, God is gentle and kind, and he loves gentleness and kindness, and that he does not confer upon severity and does not confer upon anything else besides it. Also, إن الرفق لا يكون في شيء إلا زانه ولا ينزع من شيء إلا شانه. Kindness is not to be found in anything but that it adds to its beauty, and it is not withdrawn from anything but it makes it defective. Extremism in religion is prohibited. Here I've referred to a prayer of the Prophet asking for, let me see, increase in all that is good. All right, and then also his admonition of some companions who would like to spend most of the time in prayer and fasting and so on, and he tells them that your body has a right upon you, your wife has a right upon you, and your visitors and guests and so on. And but then he also cautioned the Muslims who were hoping to get material wealth. Now I come to the people, the practice. According to Dr. Berger, that was the theory. Of course, lived by many people, maybe not in the Middle East, but in Southeast Asia. Here you find the Malay community as a good example of moderation. I do not say the best example, because I think we have our faults, we have our weaknesses, we have our shortcomings, but I think the good side has not been fully studied. Too much is being spent on the economic weaknesses of the Malays, the poverty of the Malays, but not much has been said about the moral wealth of the Malays. And here these are, I think, they're not necessarily representing us, but this is just a symbol of the Malay moderation. And I'm going to give you more symbols of Malay moderation after this. In 2004, there was this survey of what the Muslims think or who represents Islam, but the survey does not mention does not mention the Muslim Malays or the Malay Indonesian Ummah in this part of the world. There are exceptions, of course, in the case of the Moros in Mindanao, the Patani Malays, the Acehnese Indonesians, but these are due to the long, bitter history of injustice. The other side of the coin has also to be addressed, and not just the Muslim as the victims of that aggression. These are due to the long, bitter history of injustice or oppression by either the central government or aggressive Christian evangelization, or you might add, aggressive Jewish fanaticism in Muslim-dominant areas, or the infiltration by external militant elements who do not represent the wishes and aspirations of the masses or the elites. And the Muslims in this part of the world have for a long time been living together with non-Muslims of various ethnic groups. And they have learned to coexist harmoniously with the others. They have also accepted the democratic political system, albeit adapted to local conditions. Can you tell me, in the rest of the world, in the Middle East, any Muslim country that has experienced democracy for more than 60 years, continuously? Malaysia is the only example, and that has not been studied. To play an important cult, and of course Indonesia is not qualified because it had its long experience of, with all due respect to my Indonesian brothers and sisters and alumni also from Indonesia, Rahimah, because of the long experience of dictatorship, autocratic rule. But of course, after 1999, Indonesia experienced democracy, and we hope well for Indonesia. And then in Singapore, this secular republic of Singapore, the Muslim minority has maintained its identity in the context of secular society. I will just some examples of some symbols of Malay moderation. I would urge Dr. Berger, if you stay a bit longer here, to go to this part of the world and see the longest or second longest Buddhist statue in what is called the veranda of Mecca. This is not in Mecca. This is not in Mecca. This is not in Saudi Arabia. The veranda of Mecca happens to be the state from where I was born by accident, Kelantan. So, and this has been there. And Muslim, and of course Kelantan is supposed to be the most, you might say, you find more extremists perhaps there, is what people think. But look at this sleeping, reclining Buddha peacefully without any disturbance from any militant Muslims. Imagine if this were to be in, was it Baman or Biman in Afghanistan? Yeah, what is that? Banyan. Bamiyan in Afghanistan, imagine if this was there. This would have been blown to bits and to pieces. Okay, I thought, no, it's better this way. Now, Chinese-style minarets, you don't find this in the Middle East, Dr. Berger. But you find this, like the pagoda, it's inspired by the Chinese design. For that you have to go to Malacca, but I would ask you to go to Kelantan instead, Malacca. This is a Chinese mosque in Kelantan, also in the corridor of Mecca, or veranda of Mecca, a Chinese mosque. And the Malaysian parliament, of course, is a symbol of what I call institutionalized and indigenized democracy since 1955. No other Muslim country in the world can claim this long, continuous democracy in the world. Is the time up? Okay, give me just 1 more minute. Okay, thank you. Then there was this Changhe Expo in the veranda of Mecca. This is one of the brothers of the present Sultan. And the gate to the Chinese mosque in the veranda of Mecca. You don't find this in the Middle East, I think. Then this is, I think, the most important symbol of the Malay Muslim moderation. This is the most of sharing of power. This one at the top started since 1955 and still going. I don't know whether it's going strong or not, but still going. And this one below is the new experiment, in a way mimicking the first. But still, the principle is the same, sharing of power and sharing of wealth. And this can only be done, and so far has been done only in Malaysia. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Kamal Hassan. The blue you referred just now is still stronger. All right. Sorry, I think you have exceeded some time because I don't control the time, by the way, because the secretariat controls, so they don't push the bell. So that's their mistake. Then. We now open the session for any question and answers. I would like to open to the floor. Please state your names, your designations, and the organization you represent. I would like to suggest here we collect all questions first, and then we ask our panelists here to respond to those questions. Please welcome any question from the floor. Okay. Can't hear from you. Yes, there is one. Can you raise your hand first so that I can identify? I have one. Two over there. That's one. The one that you turn your face at. Yeah, you are the one. 1, 2. Just hold on. 3. Ladies, where's the ladies? I have to be fair to ladies.
Thank you.
4. All right, the ladies number 4, and then number 5 here. You go straight away after one after another, and the 6 and another one is over there. 7, please. Please proceed. Okay. So take turns, all right?
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I'm Maksum from the Central Board of Nahdlatul Ulama, Central Board of Nahdlatul Ulama of Indonesia. I do agree with the sharing of our distinguished speakers, and I do believe that justice is the primary objective of Sharia. Because the Sharia of any religions we are witnessing in the world. But at the same time, in the Muslim world, we are witnessing also unjust practices in development. I do agree that the symbolization of justice is inclusive development, as being mentioned by Dr. Muhammad Ali. Therefore, permit me to raise 2 points to Dr. Muhammad Ali. The first thing is financial inclusions of our banking system in Muslim world is totally fails. Yeah. Financial inclusion for Fuqara wal Masakin, for the poor, is totally fail in the Muslim world. And then the solution of our poor people, Fuqara wal Masakin, adopting what we call illegal lending system with extremely high interest rate, and of course the economic objective of development will never be attained. My questions is, what is the strategy of Islamic Development Bank in promoting financial inclusion for the poor? The second fact in the Muslim world is, of course, we always remember la yahuddu ala ta'amil miskin is part of those nullifying the religion. But what we are witnessing in the world is not only la yahuddu ala ta'amil miskin, not only requesting others to provide economic access to the poor, but not only la yahuddu ala ta'amil miskin, but bal yahtatifu ta'amal miskin. They are keeping ta'amal miskin. They are using the word of Nabi Khidir, bal yalbisu ta'amal miskin. Bal yalbisu ta'amal miskin instead. The question is, how can we develop some sort of more justice policy in banking system, in governance system, to control that in the world, in the Muslim world, there will be any action yang bisu ta'amal miskin.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
There's a question to IDB. The next one, can I have, I just identified this now. Yes, please, the second question. Yeah.
Chairman, my question is specific. My name is Ridwan Wu. I'm from the Center for Contemporary Islamic Studies in Singapore. My question is primarily for Professor Tan Sri Kamal Hassan. Professor, you've spoken in very glowing terms, the precepts, the Islamic precepts, encouraging moderation, and you've spoken about the Muslim moderates. But the issue still arises. What kind of framework, what kind of construct can we have that allows differences to emerge without regimes saying that they're all extreme? And what kind of construct which allows an Arab Spring to come up, a genuine Arab Spring that has the differences of views vis-a-vis the powers to be, rather than suppressing them? Well, in our part of the world, in your part of the world, we have got kaum muda versus kaum tua. How do you allow kaum muda to come up and express their views without being accused of being radical and extreme? Thank you.
Thank you, Ridwan. Can you also, for the rest, can you shorten your question or to give to others also? Because we don't have much time here. So can I have the third question that I identified just now? Or somewhere, where are you in? Yeah, Sheikh. No, Sheikh with headgear. Faddal. Yeah, the white with the white robes. Yeah, you are the one.
Thank you. Dr. Hamad Al-Majid from Imam University, Saudi Arabia, and member of National Society for Human Rights in Saudi Arabia. My question is to Dr. Berger, and I just want to ask him whether he agrees or not that, yes, it is a fact that most of the extremists are Muslims. But do you agree also that Muslims are the target of unfair treatment from the West, especially the Palestinian issue? Thank you.
Thank you. Can I? Yes, please.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. العاجم الوريمي من تونس. السؤال موجه إلى السيد موريس برجر. يقول بأن إذا كان يعني ليس كل المسلمين إرهابيون فإن كل الإرهابيين مسلمون. إيه أنت أوردت قولة واحد سعودي وتبنيتها. يعني أنا أسأل أي منطق في العالم يقبل هذه القاعدة العامة، بمعنى أن أي عمل إرهابي يمكن أن يحصل الآن في العالم، ونحن متفقون على أن الإرهاب ليس له دين، بل ليس له قومية، بل ليس يعني وليد ثقافة بعينها أو مجتمع بعينه. إذا عملنا بهذه القاعدة فإن أي فعل إرهابي في العالم بكل بساطة يمكن أن نلقيه على كاهل المسلمين. هل هذا لا يستقيم لا في المنطق الأرسطي ولا في المنطق الأفلاطوني ولا في المنطق الديكارتي ولا في المنطق بيكون ولا في منطق ديوي ولا في أي منطق في العالم. ليس هناك منطق في العالم يمكن أن يقبل هذا. أكثر من ذلك، أنا أقول بأن المسلمين ضحايا إرهاب، ضحايا إرهاب منظم، ضحايا إرهاب الدولة، ضحايا إرهاب العولمة، ضحايا إرهاب الهيمنة. هل هم ضحايا إرهاب الإسلام بهذه الطريقة، أم أن الجرائم التي ترتكب في حق المسلمين لا تسمى جرائم ومن يرتكبونها لا يسمون إرهابيين؟ أنا أسأل.
Nations and the organization you represent. I would like to suggest here we collect all questions first, and then we ask our panelists here to respond to those questions. Please welcome. Any question from the floor? Okay. Can't hear from you. Yes, there's one. Can you raise your hand first so that I can identify? I have one. Two over there. That's one. The one that you turn your face at. Yeah, you are the one. 1, 2. Just hold on. 3. Ladies, where's ladies? I have to be fair to ladies.
Thank you.
4. All right, the ladies number 4, and then number 5 here. You go straight away after one after another, and the 6 and another one is over there. 7, please. Please proceed. Yeah. So take turns, all right?
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Maksum from the Central Board of Nahdlatul Ulama, Central Board of Nahdlatul Ulama of Indonesia. I do agree with the sharing of our distinguished speakers, and I do believe that justice is the primary objective of Sharia. Because the Sharia of any religions we are witnessing in the world. But at the same time, in the Muslim world, we are witnessing also unjust practices in development. I do agree that the symbolization of justice is inclusive development, as being mentioned by Dr. Muhammad Ali. Therefore, permit me to raise 2 points to Dr. Muhammad Ali. The first thing is financial inclusions of our banking system in Muslim world is totally fails. Yeah. Financial inclusion for Fuqara wal Masakin, for the poor, is totally failed in the Muslim world. And then the solution of our poor people, pokok wala masakin, adopting what we call illegal lending system with extremely high interest rate, and of course, the economic objective of development will never be attained. My questions is, what is the strategy of Islamic Development Bank in promoting financial inclusion for the poor? The second fact in the Muslim world is, of course, we always remember la yahuddu ala ta'amil miskin is part of those nullifying the religion. But what we are witnessing in the world is not only la yahuddu ala ta'amil miskin, not only requesting others to provide economic access to the poor, but not only la yahuddu ala ta'amil miskin, but bal yahtatifu ta'amal miskin. They are keeping ta'amal miskin. They are using the word of Nabi Khidir, bal yaghbisu ta'amal miskin. Bal yaghbisu ta'amal miskin instead. The question is, how can we develop some sort of more justice policy in banking system, in governance system, to control that in the world, in the Muslim world, there will be any action yang bisu ta'amal miskin.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
It's a question to IDB. The next one, can I have, I just identified this now. Yes, please, the second question. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, my question is specific. My name is Ridwan Wu. I'm from the Center for Contemporary Islamic Studies in Singapore. My question is primarily for Professor Tan Sri Kamal Hassan. Professor, you've spoken in very glowing terms, the precepts, the Islamic precepts, encouraging moderation, and you've spoken about the Muslim moderates. But the issue still arises. What kind of framework, what kind of construct can we have that allows differences to emerge without regimes saying that they're all extreme? And what kind of construct which allows an Arab Spring to come up, a genuine Arab Spring that has differences of views vis-a-vis the powers to be, rather than suppressing them? Well, in our part of the world, in your part of the world, we have got kaum muda versus kaum tua. How do you allow kaum muda to come up and express their views without being accused of being radical and extreme? Thank you.
Thank you, Ridwan. Can you also, for the rest, can you shorten your question or to give to others also? Because we don't have much time here. So can I have the third question that I identified just now? Or somewhere, where are you? Yeah, Sheikh. No, Sheikh with headgear. Faddal. Yeah, the white, with the white robes, yeah. You are the one.
Thank you. Dr. Hamad Al-Majid from Imam University, Saudi Arabia, and a member of National Society for Human Rights in Saudi Arabia. My question is to Dr. Berger, and I just want to ask him whether he agrees or not that, yes, it is a fact that most of the extremists are Muslims. But do you agree also that Muslims are the target of unfair treatment from the West, especially the Palestinian issue? Thank you.
Thank you. Can I? Yes, please.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. العاجم الوريمي من تونس. السؤال موجه إلى السيد موريس برجر. يقول بأن إذا كان يعني ليس كل المسلمين إرهابيون فإن كل الإرهابيين مسلمون. إيه أنت أوردت قولة واحد سعودي وتبنيتها. يعني أنا أسأل أي منطق في العالم يقبل هذه القاعدة العامة، بمعنى أن أي عمل إرهابي يمكن أن يحصل الآن في العالم، ونحن متفقون على أن الإرهاب ليس له دين، بل ليس له قومية، بل ليس يعني وليد ثقافة بعينها أو مجتمع بعينه. إذا عملنا بهذه القاعدة فإن أي فعل إرهابي في العالم بكل بساطة يمكن أن نلقيه على كاهل المسلمين. هل هذا لا يستقيم لا في المنطق الأرسطي ولا في المنطق الأفلاطوني ولا في المنطق الديكارتي ولا في المنطق بيكون ولا في منطق ديوي ولا في أي منطق في العالم. ليس هناك منطق في العالم يمكن أن يقبل هذا. أكثر من ذلك، أنا أقول بأن المسلمين ضحايا إرهاب، ضحايا إرهاب منظم، ضحايا إرهاب الدولة، ضحايا إرهاب العولمة، ضحايا إرهاب الهيمنة.
أيوه.
هل هم ضحايا إرهاب الإسلام بهذه الطريقة، أم أن الجرائم التي ترتكب في حق المسلمين لا تسمى جرائم ومن يرتكبونها لا يسمون إرهابيين؟ أنا أسأل.
أيوه، شكرا. Professor Bagga understand that. Don't worry, because he speaks Arabic. Kalam Arabic. Can I have yes, Sheikh from Malaysia?
Thank you. My name is Ismail Abdul Halim. I'm the president of the Middle Eastern Graduate Association. I would like to be specified that I hope all speakers will speak about the topic in the view of Islam or Muslimin or non-Muslim. Because if you put these three together, we, the laymen here, cannot understand. So I hope one has to speak the Islamic point of view, Muslimin point of view, and non-Muslim point of view. Otherwise, we will be in the dark. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid I can't allow more questions because we don't have much time, because they already reminded me just now to probably...
Excuse me, can I?
Oh yeah, one lady.
Yeah.
I promised one lady just now. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just to
should
be
not
fair.
forget that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'll try to keep this very short.
All right,
Talking about moderate extremism, to me, that's values. So, whose values we're going to use here? For Islam, from Islamic perspective, like Dr. Berger said, Islam is one thing, Muslim is the other thing. Often identified, they are contrary to each other. To Muslim now, I would like to ask, why is it so difficult for you to admit if, yes, your brothers are extremists, some of them, and when we defend that, we defend with the Islam, with the good Islamic values, teachings, and that's always good, for God's sake. And the behavior, the acts that comes from Muslim, if they claim they're Muslim, we have to take that as a challenge. Don't spend energy more on defending that. Take instead the energy to study the Islamic teachings that we really uphold. Now we are, most of us, trying to claim that we are best society of Muslim, best community of Muslim, and the other side of the world also claim that, Indonesia claim that, Malaysia claim that, and now we're asking, who has the best value of that practice of Islamic teachings? One thing for sure, come back to your holy book, to our holy book. It says there very clearly that our prophet has a very uswatun hasanah. And in his hadith, Quran is his akhlaq. So the only referring for Islamic value or practicing of a community is
all right, thank you. So I can simplify in one word. Kana nas ummatan wahida.
Right. Okay.
Right, okay.
And about the rebranding, reframing, render of Makkah, all those kind of claiming,
All right. Okay.
that should be,
All right.
yeah.
Thank
The
you.
point is there, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Point well taken. Well taken.
Okay.
Last. And then we have last and then our members. Okay.
Okay.
Very short.
I'm
please.
Dr. Muhammad Burhan Arbuna, one of the Icgmm Alumni Association. I came far away to join the
Thank you.
the conference, and of course, Professor is
Thank you.
the rector during my time.
Straight
Coming
to
to the question, after hearing the presentations, we realized that there is no moderation between the presenters. So you have
Never mind. I'm moderating them.
extreme side. But my question is to the professor, giving the example of the Malay society. From the presentation, from my perspective, I understand that as if professor is emphasizing that this model, if we didn't take it, then we will not be able to come out with the moderation. How far the professor can explain to us that this model is acceptable in terms of changing the situation or agreeing to accept some changes in order to apply it worldwide. This is very important for us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please, the last question from our,
My name is Sangat Singh. I come from the Malaysian Interfaith Network, whose motto is the Golden Rule. Do unto others what you want done to you. This is the only thing that will moderate every person, whether it's religious or not. And I'm happy Malaysia is proud to have set this up, and this country practices moderation all the time. As a Sikh view, Guru Nanak was neither a Muslim nor a Hindu. He has gone as far as Mecca and Medina. In India itself, there are very diverse religions. Islam has been tolerant from the Mughal time. It has allowed it. And these concepts of the East and West coming to Malaysia, the archipelago, we are the luckiest country to practice from China, from the West and East, bring all the religious things to the moderating pot, that is Malaysia. Let's keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I call now our panelists to respond to those questions? Can I begin with Professor Berger?
Good. Yes, can I speak? Let me just briefly answer to your question, sir. I don't even need to admit that injustices are committed and perpetrated against Muslims. Yes, of course. You raise the case of Israel, Palestine. Yes, grave injustices. Then the next question you should ask yourself, because I very often that argument is being used in these kind of settings. And then the implicit argument I think you're making is that would then justify all kinds of terrorist or whatever acts. And that's the question that people need to answer for themselves. Because if that's your justification, we can do anything we want because grave injustices are committed against us. That's not the way it works. So I find it too easy a way out. Yes, these are injustices, but does it justify all these acts all over the world? I don't think so.
Thank you, Prof. Can I call Your Excellencies, Tan Sri, to respond? Yeah. There are two Tan Sris here. Tan Sri Ahmad Muhammad Ali.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The question about what is the strategy of Islamic Development Bank to face the problem of poverty in the Muslim world. That's understood the first question of our brothers. Actually, poverty alleviation is on the top of the priorities of IDB since it has been established in 1975. most of the programs of IDB in our member countries is really aimed at fighting poverty. Besides that also, during the extraordinary summit of the OIC, which was in Mecca in 2005, they established a special fund for the purpose of fighting poverty in member countries. And this fund has been established in IDB since about 3 years ago, and with the capital of about $10 billion. So far, the fund mobilized about $2.5 billion, and it is aimed at fighting poverty in different ways and means. We are emphasizing poverty fighting poverty, as I said, through primary education, giving help to the least developed member countries, because one of the problems of IDB, as you know, most of the least developed member countries of the world as member in the IDB. The least developed countries in the world, there are about 30 countries, about 23 of them are members in IDB. So this is the strategy of IDB in fighting poverty. The other question about, if I could understand the question, how we can fight corruption in our member countries. Of course, this is a very difficult job, but this is the job of everybody really, all of us, whether the ulamas, the thinkers, the activists, all of us, it is our duty really to fight corruption in our member countries. This is a very big job, but we have to do our very best. As you know, our religion with the Quran, the Hadith, all against corruption. So it is duty of each Muslim, it is not only the institutions, to fight the corruption in our communities, in our countries. Thank you very much. I hope I did answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Tan Sri. Professor Kama. So.
Okay, thank you very much. I will just address question posed by Brother Ridwan Wu. Thank you very much, Brother Ridwan, and nice to see you here. You mentioned that I spoke in quote-unquote glowing terms about the ideals and the precepts, and I did this because if you make a survey of the, let's say, the textbooks and the way Islam is being taught in the schools, those precepts on what we call al-wasatiyya have not been emphasized. We have emphasized the ibadat and aqidah, but the issue of social relations, the issue of peaceful coexistence with others have not been taught in the schools. And that is why I feel that those precepts have to be identified, socialized, internalized, and also adopted as an important part of the curriculum of religious teachings in the religious schools and also in the national schools. So it's not just trying to blow things up, but I think trying to highlight the fact that these precepts are not really well known in the community. For instance, this idea of rifq, the idea that the Prophet reprimanded his own wife for being angry against the Jew, and he said, God is kind and gentle. And we don't hear that very often in the religious schools. Then, what are the conditions which we need to promote this kind of values? I would submit that first of all is education, that I think we need to really look into the content of religious education, or Islamic religious education, I mean, in all the Muslim countries, without having to succumb to pressures from outside. But we ourselves, through our own ijtihad, realize that certain teachings of Islam have not been highlighted. And I think the teachings concerning al-wasatiyya have not been highlighted. So it's time we would put that back in its place. Second, I think, is the practice of the value of ijtihad, or the exercise of independent reasoning. And I think this has to be also institutionalized. But ijtihad is not just a freedom for all, ijtihad has its conditions, and those conditions have to be met. Certainly competent and responsible authoritative leadership, scholarship is one of the conditions of ijtihad, and not just any Tom, Dick and Harry can do ijtihad. Third is the principle of shura, the institutionalization of shura, or the consultation in Muslim communities. And of course we have the parliament and so on, but only parliamentarians and politicians get into this institution, but the masses are not really trained to practice shura. And of course justice is another principle that has to be upheld. And wasatiyah, the primary meaning of wasatiyah is justice. But the fourth, or you might say the fifth factor, Brother Ridwan Wu, is al-waqi'iyyah, is understanding the realities on the ground. You talked about, can we have an Arab Spring? I don't think, no, we can't have an Arab Spring. We can have a Malaysian typhoon, but not an Arab Spring, because Arab Spring developed from a long history of autocracy, dictatorship, oppression for decades. This is certainly not the condition in Malaysia, Indonesia, or Singapore. Of course, you are in a better position to talk about Singapore. So I think understanding the realities on the ground is very important, so that we do not make this rather easy comparison between what's going on in the Middle East and what's happening here. For instance, when the Iranian Revolution erupted in 1979, and I had the chance to go to Iran in 1981, and after coming back I was asked by the special branch officers why I had gone to Iran, well, of course I was invited to be there, and I was also asked or told by them that well, some of the people in Malaysia are afraid of an Iranian revolution in Malaysia. I said, you don't have to be afraid. We do not have the conditions for the eruption of an Iranian revolution. We do not have a Shah for ruling the country. So we don't have the conditions that led to this development of the revolution. So we don't have to worry about that. So I think understanding the local context is very, very important. But I would submit at the end that I think we have great potential in this part of the world. Scholars have been focusing mainly on the Middle East, and I think Dr. Berger is one good example of the, of course he is one of the many Western scholars looking at Islam from the context of the Middle East. And I think the Southeast Asian context has been marginalized. It's high time, and welcome to Dr. Berger for coming here, and we hope other scholars will come and look at some of these, practices of moderation in the Malay Indonesian community. Having said that, we admit that we have our weaknesses, we have our shortcomings, and I did say so. We're not saying we're the best in the world, but we're saying that there are certain features of Malay Indonesian community which really fit in the features of al-wasatiyah, which should be studied rather than just focusing on the political and the economic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Kama. Thank you for the question and answers provided. To wrap up the session, I would like to share with an interesting quote. Actually, this is not from an academics or from professors or scholars. It's one quote from a comedian with regard to moderation. Who said that? This. The paradox of our time in history is that we have taller buildings but shorter tempers, wider freeways but narrower viewpoints. We spend more but have less. We buy more but enjoy less. We have bigger houses and smaller families, more conveniences, but less time. We have more degrees, but less sense. More knowledge, but less judgment. More experts, yet more problems. More medicines, but less wellness. The best way is moderation in everything, every endeavor. This brings us to close the first session of the conference. I would like to thank all our distinguished speakers and participants for their invaluable contributions to the topics today. I would also like to thank the audience for your passion and participation in making this session a success. A round of applause for all. With that, I thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Another round of applause to our speakers and moderator for the first session. Thank you once again. I'd like to invite all the speakers and moderators to take their seat together with the floor, participants down. Thank you once again. And we're preparing for the second session. And ladies and gentlemen, if you can agree with me that we are actually 23 minutes behind schedule. And I really hope that we can abide by the time allocated, because there are still 6 more sessions to go and 3 town hall sessions.